So the Enid Blyton estate could really see a synergy between my illustrative style and their stories, and they wanted to bring to the world a reimagining of these stories through a new illustrative style, and that they chose my work was just really incredible for me.
Welcome to the On the Wall podcast, where we engage in conversations with artists, designers, enthusiasts, and visionaries who shape the world of interiors. Today's guest is Australian artist and product designer Fleur Harris. Fleur's passion for producing whimsical creations is celebrated worldwide, and today she joins us to talk about the new Fleur Harris Enid Blyton collection, The Magical Faraway Tree. If you enjoy these conversations, please subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review, and share this podcast with a friend. Welcome to the On the Wall podcast. I'm Christopher Dahman, your host, and today I'm going to be speaking to an Australian artist by the name of Fleur Harris, who I've interviewed once before. She's going to tell us all about a brand new wallpaper collection that she's got out, and it's called The Magical Faraway Tree, based on the children's novel. So we're going to talk to her all about what went into creating it, how the whole process began, and a bunch of stuff that I've seen from her social media over the last 4 or 5 months, I think, that all relate to how this whole thing got put together. So I'm really looking forward to talking with her and having her tell us all about it.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, how are you?
I'm so well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Thanks for making the time and joining me here.
Oh, that is a pleasure. It's so nice to see you in person, because we've had so much to do with each other online, but never actually met face to face.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So Fleur Harris was previously on the podcast. It was was it 2 years? No, about a year and a half ago. It was season 2, episode 8 in September of 2024. So if you want to hear sort of more of the background on Fleur's story and her upbringing and her start and journey as an artist, I would definitely check that out. But today we're going to focus primarily on the Magical Faraway Tree collection.
Yes.
And it's a very exciting collection. It looks beautiful, and I can't wait to hear all about it. First, I want to hear just about the Magical Faraway Tree. So when I first heard about it and that you were doing the collection, I was like, what is the Magical Faraway Tree? Because apparently it's very popular in the UK. It's one of England's most celebrated authors, and it's really big in Australia. But in the US, I hadn't heard about it. I've heard of Chronicles of Narnia and other things, but I had never heard of this series or the artist. So it must not be as prevalent in American culture for whatever reason. And after I was reading all about the author and all that, I was like, wow, she's a big deal.
She's one of the world's best-selling authors. Yeah. But she didn't really make a dent in the US market, though.
Yeah, but it's just crazy. So if you could, for the listeners and viewers here, kind of just give a little bit of background about the Magical Faraway Tree.
Yeah, of course. Well, it was one of my favorite books growing up as a child. And I would say it was really formative in me being the kind of artist that I am, really focused on imagination and adventure and wonder and fantasy, really. I've actually got a couple of the books here, the copies that I had as a kid. So this is the first book in the series. There's 3 books in the series. This one's The Enchanted Wood. And then there's The Magic Faraway Tree. I couldn't find my one of that, but then the third one is The Folk of the Faraway Tree. And you'll see these beautiful vintage style illustrations. They were kind of the visual, visual soundtrack to my childhood. And so they're beloved by me. They were also beloved by my parents' generation, and even people older than that. And so,
because the first book came out in 1939.
Yeah. It's not a huge amount off its 100-year publishing anniversary. So Enid Blyton was a very prolific author. She wrote stories of all kinds. She was really famous for a series called The Famous Five, and being from the UK, that was where her work was the most prevalent. But her other territories that she's really popular in are Australia, New Zealand, and actually India. She has a
Oh,
really
wow.
big following. And a lot of her books come as like smaller size novels. I have some here as well, actually. I'll just grab them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit of a fan.
Oh, here we go.
So a lot of them come like these old novels as well. And for anyone kind of visually inclined, you can kind of see, why her books are sort of so engaging with these beautiful colors and illustrations throughout. But on the inside of them, a lot of them are more the old ones, the black and white kind of illustrations.
Okay.
Um, Anyway, so I hope that kind of paints a little bit of a picture of my love for Enid Blyton's Magic Faraway Tree
So
stories.
were your parents reading them to you as a little kid and like bedtime stories,
Yeah,
that sort of
yeah,
thing, or?
definitely, definitely. And then throughout, when I was an older child, and then throughout my teenage years, and when I was studying fine art, it was kind of a book I'd always have around that I'd sort of refer back to look at the pictures, or it was
Okay.
just always brought this beautiful sense of nostalgia about when I looked at them. And so when I was approached by the Enid Blyton estate to reimagine these stories in my illustrative style, you can only imagine the surprise and delight that brought me. That
Yes.
was a real kind of dream come true moment for sure. And
I
so,
want to get into that.
yeah,
First though, before we get to that, um, what what are sort of like the general themes of the book, like that you found engaging as a kid? What were sort of the main? I assume there's lots of like, I've read a little bit, but for somebody that hasn't,
yeah.
like the kind of the morals and the values and like the messages, and like what sort of themes are kind of coming across in the books that you found engaging as a kid and even as an adult?
On the Wall is brought to you by Milton & King, your trusted partner for luxury crafted wall coverings. Milton & King's trade program is designed to make your creative process seamless, offering exclusive trade-only benefits such as complimentary samples, early access to new collections, and professional pricing structured to enhance your business success. To assist with your projects, you'll have the flexibility to create your own custom swatch book, tailored specifically to your design needs. With dedicated customer support every step of the way, our trade program is here to elevate your design vision and simplify your journey from inspiration to installation. Ready to join a partner who understands your craft? Visit miltonandking.com to apply for your trade account today. Milton & King, your vision, our craftsmanship.
Sure. So the general plot is that there's three children that move with their family to a country town, and they discover this woods at the sort of bottom of their property, and so they venture off. And I love about the books, like compared to modern day times today, the parenting style is the kids are very much left to their own devices to just go and have these adventures, which I really like. The mum kind of
Yeah.
packs them a sandwich and says, "I'll see you when the sun goes down," in a way. Um,
Right.
so they discover this tree in the woods, and it's the faraway tree, and they discover that it's full of all these fantastical characters. And as they venture their way up the tree, they realize that there's this ladder at the top, and every time they go up that ladder, there's a different land at the top of the tree. And so the books really dive into their adventures in each of these different lands, and the kind of, troubles they get into getting stuck in different lands or with different characters that they meet. And I suppose the moral of it, the underlying message, I think, is about having a spirit of adventure and curiosity, and
Mm-hmm.
being open to, kind of whatever your imagination can bring to you. And there's a really beautiful diverse range of characters too. So one of the characters that they encounter in the Faraway Tree is called Moonface, and he has this head that beams like the moon, and so he's represented with a literal kind of moon as a head. And they have Silky the fairy that lives in the tree, and they have Saucepan Man, who's this fellow who can't hear very well because he wears saucepans and kettles and gets around clanging around all the time.
I thought that was so funny when I heard that. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's really...
everything must be clanking and you just can't hear anything. And
it's really out there in terms of the types of characters. And I think I always loved that too, is just how imaginative it all was. And I suppose, though, as a child, you can relate to the story, though, because there's these three sort of normal human children who are experiencing this fantastical world. And so it's kind of nice as a kid to imagine that might be able to happen to you too.
And there's different lands, like there's the land of birthdays and land of
take what you want, the land of
take what you want.
The land of spells. Like they really are all lands that every kid would dream of, being able to go to. But then there's some lands that are maybe not as appealing, like the land of topsy-turvy, where everyone's stuck upside down. Or, there's the land of ice and snow, where there's these polar bears that are a little bit aggressive and a bit mean.
Right.
And they kidnap, one of the children. So, there's...
So it's not afraid to be a little scary at times, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
So it really is an adventure to read, and accompanied by all the illustrations in the book. It really is a delight to experience as a child. And what has been so great to learn throughout my experience with this project is how many children are still reading and enjoying these books. And, I read it with my son, or have read them all with my son. It really is timeless. And I think that's one of the other really beautiful things about it, that even in this digital age that we have, where, kids are on YouTube or whatever, this book still can cut through all of that and, grab their attention and inspire them.
Yeah, no small feat.
No.
So then you get approached by, Enid Blyton had passed away in late 60s, I believe. And so her, I guess her estate, or how do you get approached? How does this come into your world? How does that happen?
So the Enid Blyton estate, there's also a company, Enid Blyton Entertainment. So it's sort of broken down into these, different groups, because they're also part of the Hachette publishing group, who now publish all of the books. So I've been really dealing with more so the Hachette team on a lot of the work for this, but ultimately they could really see a synergy between my illustrative style and their stories, and they wanted to bring to the world a new imagination, or a reimagining, if you like, of these stories through a new illustrative style. And that they chose my work was just really incredible for me. And so it was an immediate yes from me. I didn't even really look at the contracts that much. I was just like,
I would imagine, I'm sure you get enough people that appreciate your work and all that kind of stuff, but to all of a sudden have something like this, it must feel like, how does that feel? It must be a certain, validation or just shock.
All of those things. Yeah, all of those things. So much imposter syndrome going on. Like, why me? I don't know if I can do this, What if I stuff it up? What if I ruin the Faraway Tree for children around the world?
Or make something they're like, oh, never mind. Or there's got to be that, a bit
Thanks
of fear.
For trying.
Yeah.
For sure. But being so passionate about the story, I really gave it my all, and it took me 9 months to create the artwork. So the way I had to do it was I wasn't allowed to be inspired by any of the original illustrations, which was really challenging. Yeah, really challenging, because they're so embedded in my brain, probably also almost more so than the story itself. So I got myself a copy of the books that just had text. And so I would go through them. I wonder if I have those here. I can show you an example.
So you have to like for almost forget everything that you've seen to start from
Yeah.
scratch.
Yeah. So this was the copy that I
Wow.
worked from. It was one I found that had very little, like, it had a few
Mm-hmm.
little illustrations dotted throughout it. But I would basically go through and take notes of notable sort of descriptions and then write the page number
Yeah.
down so I could kind of come back to it. And then I would use those these kind of lists that I'd put sort of in the book of descriptions of things to then draw my illustrations from, so that I was really just working from the text. I mean, it
Yeah.
is hard to wipe out your memory of things. So there's,
Right.
I don't know, probably unavoidably things that have come through, but I did certainly try my best just to work from the text and represent it in my illustrative style as best as I could.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think other artists would also find this interesting. When you get the call, like the first call that we'd be interested in collaborating with you to do this,
Mm.
um, how long does the process take before that first call and before you put, paintbrush to, or however you create it, you know what I mean? Like how long is that process before you be from that first call to where you begin? And I guess the other part of that question is before you even got like the okay or the like the affirmative or the approval, were you already just like, going back and reading and
Oh
and
yeah,
coming up with,
absolutely. Yeah. Because so first of all, they wanted me to do like a trial illustration. So my first illustration was of the little squirrel. There's a squirrel that is friends with Moonface, who hoists the cushions. So I'll backtrack on this. So to get
Mhm.
down the tree, there's a slippery slip from inside Moonface's home, and that he gives you a cushion to slide down the slippery slip inside the tree. And when you pop out, there's a little squirrel that catches the cushion and ties it on a rope and hoists it back up the tree. So he was the first character that I drew as my kind of, would you say, audition
Uh-huh.
illustration. And it was then from that they were kind of like, you've got the part. And
So
so
how long is that from that first call to that approval?
uh look, in
Is
this
it
case,
months?
yeah, oh
Months and months?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, often in my world, the production of a new collaboration can take a bit of time. There's always the
Mm-hmm.
less fun stuff like the contracts to negotiate and so on.
Yep.
And I suppose in this instance, I hadn't had a situation like this where I was working with someone else's IP to create artwork before. So usually when I create art, it's all my own ideas and so on.
Right.
Whereas in this instance, I'm drawing on Enid Blyton's IP, and so the contract was far more complex because it's ultimately something this body of work is something we've created together. So it was a different
Right.
arrangement to what I'm used to. So that did take a longer time.
So there's always like submitting like the new characters and kind of making sure everybody's still on the same page and everyone's liking everything.
For
And
sure, yeah. And there's a board. The Enid Blyton estate has a board that needs to approve everything. And so, we went through quite a long development process of me submitting sketches for characters and getting the line work approved and then doing the renders and getting those approved. And, of course, everyone has their own visual in their head of what certain characters look like and so on. And so getting them to, the characters to a point where we felt that they would connect with most people was definitely a consideration as well. So I spent 9 months doing the artwork, but I started this, like now we're only launching the product collections around this artwork collection now. I started this with them 3 years ago or so.
oh
So
wow.
it's been quite a long journey,
Yeah.
but definitely one that it's meant for the last 3 years. I've had a lot of anticipation and
Yeah.
excitement in my life, waiting for all the beautiful ranges to come out, like the one that we'll have with Milton and King.
So just sort of like as a side note, sidestep, or what do you want to call it? Because it was a long process, were you still like as an artist and, making a living and that kind of stuff, were you also doing other things along the
Oh
way
yeah, yeah.
to, you know, keep it going,
Yeah,
essentially?
absolutely. So I have a children's clothing label in my own name, and I work really closely with my friends at Adairs on our bedding collections, and I've had
Right.
lots of other little collaborations along the way as well. So they're all happening in the background too. So yes, it's meant for a busy time for me, but that's okay. I
Yeah.
like being busy.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So I want to get a little bit, it's kind of into the weeds, I guess, of what you created here. I'm just going to put on the screen, it's all just stuff that I, ripped off your Instagram. But yeah, I just thought like if you could comment on just what we're looking at here. Let me just share my screen real quick. So this is Moonface, one of the characters. How did you come to develop the look and even like the color scheme that you used for this character?
So, because the book of the time period the book was published in, as you mentioned, sort of, I think it was around the 30s. I have to, you got to remember a lot of this stuff. As I mentioned, I worked on kind of years ago. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was for their outfits. I was looking up historical fashion imagery to get a bit of an idea of what people would have been wearing at the time when Enid Blyton wrote the stories. And so Moonface, you kind of get this idea that he's a little bit dapper. And so I did a lot of research around, what gentlemen were wearing in the era that the story was first published. And so it was a lot of really highly tailored suiting and vests and bow ties and, really fantastic outfits. So that kind of led my research for what he would wear. And then the description of his head is that it's round and beamed like the moon. And so I essentially just worked with how I could portray that without him sort of looking, creepy or anything like that. I still wanted him to look really appealing because he is a really appealing character. He has a really good heart. And so some of my drawings you'll see on that page, like this one down the bottom left, he's really tiny. In that little rectangle, kind of in the middle, he's not a good one. He kind of giving me that Jack Nicholson, that scene where he's looking to the side. Does he say he is Johnny in that scary
Here's
movie?
Johnny. Yeah, when he
Yeah.
breaks through the door and
Yeah.
in The Shining. Yeah.
Yes. I haven't seen that movie, but I know that scene. And when I drew that little one of Moonface, I was thought, oh no, you're not it. And so I went through quite a few different iterations of him to get him right. And I actually ended up using a photograph of my husband. I got him to put on a suit and sort of stand in some different poses for me.
I
And I
saw that. That
used,
was really cool.
yeah, I used his body to as the basis for the character illustration for that. And I haven't shared what I did for Dame Washalot yet, but I also used my sister for that one. I used my son for a little pixie. I used our neighbour's child for Saucepan Man. So the characters have all come from people in my life, who are close to me, because all of a sudden I'd need a reference. And so it was sort of whoever was close by, I'd say, okay, I need you to put this shower cap on and hold a bucket and pose for me. So thankfully they're all were very obliging.
So yeah, close to you or actually you, right? I mean, you got what about this one here?
Silky the Fairy. So she was my favorite character out of all the books as a child, and then the favorite character in this story. And so I thought, well, I just have to be Silky. Like that will be my kind of dream dream come true. And it was also easier because I could be in my studio. I set up my camera with a video and sort of danced around in a whole lot of different fairy poses, and then I would go through the video frame by frame to find the pose that I felt, spoke most to sort of her character and her gentleness and her curiosity. And so then I drew from that. So that was a really nice thing to be able to do as well.
Yeah. I love hearing all about that process, because some people, I mean, maybe it's part of the fact that it is a collaboration and that sort of thing. But, a lot of people just, I think, are under the impression of, you just go and you just create the art, and you're doing so much research. And doing historical research on, like you said, the clothing of the times, and then research on, how is this person sitting and standing, and what's a natural human movement, and using, your family members and things like that, or pictures of yourself. I just find that whole process really sort of interesting, because it kind of just goes to show all the research and work that goes behind the creative process. It's not just, putting pencil to paper kind of thing.
For sure. Look, for some artists it may be, but for me, I really appreciate all the nuances in facial expression and, the way a leg or a foot can be sort of positioned to communicate someone's sort of personality or an atmosphere. And so I really wanted to make sure I got all of that right and represented these characters as best I could. So the research was a really important part for this process. And I suppose as well, with AI being such a bigger and bigger thing, I'm leaning as an artist more and more into that authentic development of my creative output.
Real thing.
Yeah. And so to be able to show people, this is the sketch that came from this photograph and so on, I think that process is really nice to be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And also because, and then it's great because I've noticed on your Instagram, you get really deep into the behind the scenes of all this sort of thing.
Yes.
And it really, I think, allows people to vest themselves into what you're doing and see like, I'm not just getting something that was created by a couple of prompts in AI. I'm getting something that was very well thought out, very well researched, all this heart put into it, all this time. And just that on its own just makes it so much more interesting and valuable, in my opinion.
Oh, I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you.
No, yeah, it's really great to see. Before we dive into the actual like wallpaper collection that's getting put out, I did want to kind of just go over a couple things that have preceded this wallpaper collection coming out, which is going to be on February 26th, I believe is the launch date.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to check that out then. And I know you're going to be going through some of the designs as well, like on your Instagram prior to that. You'll be able to give everybody a preview.
To do that. Yes, I'm so excited.
But before we get to that, I was just again following along on your Instagram, and how this all ties in is you did like a what do you call them? Like a window scene at David Jones in Australia as part of, because this collaboration isn't just on wallpaper. You did it in fabrics, and there's kids' clothes and all sorts of things, right? So and I was like watching you create these giant mushrooms and different things for the display. Like tell me a little bit about that whole process and how that came about.
Sure. So David Jones are my key retail partner for the Fleur Harris baby and children's apparel, and we did a Magic Faraway Tree range of clothing for the Fleur Harris brand, and David Jones wanted to really celebrate that because it was so special, and so they offered us a Christmas window at the Burke Street store, which is their flagship store in Melbourne. And it fortunately is right next to another department store here called Myer, who are famous for every year putting on a really big iconic Christmas window display. And the window they gave me was right next to the last Myer Christmas window where that would be. So I thought, I did my research, and I think I saw that the Myer windows attract something like 1.6 million visitors a year. And so I thought there's going to be a lot of eyes on this little window of mine. And, with that combined with the Magic Faraway Tree being such a amazing opportunity for me, and then for my brand to do a clothing range in it, I thought I have to give this window my absolute all. And so I did. So look, I'm not a sculptor by, I'm not qualified or anything. I
That was
just
the thing that I was like, because I've only known you as an artist, and I saw you being so crafty. But I didn't know you were like a crafty person. Like maybe you always had been. I have no idea. But you like were. It looked great. It looked really,
thank
really
you.
good. I was like,
I love to just make things, and even
yeah,
if I'm completely unqualified or haven't done it before, I'll always have a go at it and figure it out. And this was a very experimental, sorry,
mm-hmm.
project for me. Carving foam and making fake foods out of modeling clay and stuff. But it all worked, and it was really nice to be able to share the failures and the learnings with my Instagram community. They really appreciate, I think, seeing people have a go and seeing that other people will stuff up and try again and learn to do better, and sharing that journey with them kind of made it a bit less scary for me as well, because I felt a lot of pressure to deliver a really great window.
Yeah.
And I was probably again having some self-doubt, saying, what if I stuff this up and ruin Christmas for all the children?
Fleur Harris ruins Christmas. Yeah. That's not what you want to happen.
No. So I, put my all into it and had to, remake the mushrooms a couple of times. And, I worked solidly on that window for 2 months straight. But the response was
that
really
a solo
incredible.
thing, or did you have help, or?
It was solo. I had a few people in my community reach out offering me some help. There was a lovely woman called Lauren who created the fake cake for me when she saw me having a failed fake cake making experience.
I wanted to ask you about that. What happened to the cake? Because I don't know if I just missed it, but what actually happened to the cake?
So I have the cake here. I can bring it over and show it to you if you'd like. Would you like me to grab it?
Sure, yeah. If it's not too much trouble.
No, not at all.
So yeah, Fleur Harris had put something on her stories where she said that she was showing all the different pieces that she made, and she said, "I'll tell you about the cake later."
So this is the cake that Lauren made for me. So my first attempt
beautiful.
Yes, this is made from polystyrene and modeling clay and fake flowers. And then I put the rhinestones and the pearls and extra bits on it. And we had it on I made this big gold cake stand out of vintage crystal, and then we put it on a turntable so it spun in the window and kind of twinkled under the lights. It was really pretty. So I am selling a lot of the props, but this is something I won't sell, obviously, because I didn't make it. And I said to Lauren, what will we do with it? Would you like it back or whatever? And she said, I'd be happy for it to live in your studio. So it's got pride of place in here. There was another woman who sent me some vintage spoons, some ice cream sundae spoons to use, which I ended up using in the homemade lemonade. So it was actually a really beautiful experience in, being the recipient of so much kindness from my community when they were seeing there were points along the way that I was really struggling. They reached out and helped me, which is just so phenomenal and lovely. So it made the whole experience feel like a bit of a team effort, which was so nice. And my wonderful Kate that works with me, she looks after all my social media, so she helped me document the whole process, because without her doing that for me, it kind of would have been too hard for me to make and document in the time I had. So thanks to her, we were able to share the whole process with everybody, which was really nice. And that content really took off and meant it sent a lot of people, to the window as well. And then I had all these people sending photographs of them visiting the window, and the whole experience was just an absolute delight. It was lovely.
Yeah, and it's great for people to see the process so they don't think it's all just, magic and it just happens,
Yes.
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah.
Yeah, and lots of laughs along the way too. I never take any of this too seriously,
it does seem that way. It seems like you're able to kind of laugh when things kind of take a turn for the worse,
you
temporarily.
Have to.
Right.
Well, we're not, curing any terminal illness or anything here. We're trying to make art and have fun. So I try and keep the perspective of, I see art as really important, but nothing that goes wrong in my work is going to be too detrimental to anyone.
Too tragic, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get into, I'm excited to get actually into these designs. I'm going to do my best to describe them enough to where somebody who's just listening to the audio version of this podcast will not be missing out too much, but they might want to watch the video one just so that they can see what we're looking at. But let's have a look at the Magical Faraway Tree collection on wallpaper here.
I'm so excited for this collection.
So this is 5 designs, right? And then Milton and King created an additional 3 derivative of your designs to basically have like things to go with it, and so that they can mix and match and do that sort of thing.
Yes,
so
and I love some of the designs that Milton and King created in-house. They're some of my favorite. I think they're so cool.
Introducing Benchmade Modern. Tailored sofas crafted just for you, delivered in as little as 4 weeks. Create a custom piece that perfectly reflects your style. Choose from our collection of designs from timeless to modern. Customize the size, then personalize with your ideal fabric, cushion, and leg style. Discover your dream sofa today.
So this seems like the main one, the Magical Faraway Tree, like sort of like the flagship design, I would say.
Yes, that's our hero.
So tell me if you have anything to kind of say about this design in particular.
Well, I would say this is like the big kahuna of the collection, in that it's got all the characters, it's got all the elements. There's so much to look at. It's kind of like the I Spy of the Magic Faraway Tree. It's definitely the most heavy on illustration and the most busy, and so I think this is definitely for an interior that really wants to say, look at me, and be completely fabulous.
And it's coming in 6 different, or is it 5? 5 colorways.
Well, it'll be 6 with the dark base one as well, and then those 5 additional.
Oh, right, yeah, right, the one above, yeah, so 6 total. Yep, so it'll be so different options to go with, depending on if you like more of a sage color or the blue periwinkle, which seems to be a very popular trend going on at the moment.
Yeah, and there's so many colors in the print too, so it's a very easy one to pair, your other interior finishes back with. If you want to lean more into the reds or the greens or so on, there's so many colors to draw on there to finish your interior styling.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So moving from the Faraway Tree, we're going to the next one, which is the Wishing Door.
Yeah, so this was actually based on Silky the Fairy has notoriously a notoriously cute house, in that it has this little yellow door on it. So this artwork was actually based on her door, but I decided to create the door as a pink door, because I just felt for interiors and in this color scheme that the yellow might have been a little bit jarring. But this has sort of got a fairy garden, I suppose, atmosphere to it. And a couple of the options also have some clouds floating in the background behind it, which is really pretty too.
And I think the colorways are pretty much the same across the range, right? So there you can get, even if you wanted to mix and match the first 2 that we're looking at, you could do that. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it means as well, if you want to change up, I really like mixing and matching wallpapers within a space, or potentially, if you do a wallpaper in a room, you then might line the inside of a wardrobe with something that complements it. And so to have those connecting base colors across the range makes that really easy.
Yeah.
I love this print. This is one of the Milton and King designs, and I love this. I think it's so great.
Yeah, so this is called Land of Enchantments. It's again elements of that basically from the Magical Faraway Tree design, kind of just repurposed in different little motifs, I guess you'd call them.
Yeah, I love it. And I love how the styling of this composition has a really vintage wallpaper feel to it. And I think that that lends itself really nicely to the whole background of this story and it being something quite vintage in itself.
Yeah, I do like the darker colorway of the navy. It does look really nice.
I have one of our wallpapers, the Garden of Dreams, in dark moss in my powder room, and it is my favorite room in the house. The dark wallpapers create such a stunning interior.
Yeah, especially too if maybe sort of the rest of your house is more lighter or neutral. When you kind of go into a space that's got that sort of dark contrast, it really sort of I think creates a moment in the home.
Totally.
Yeah. Moving down to Faraway Friends.
Well, this is fun.
This looks fake. So this is essentially the characters almost by themselves without the foliage and things, right?
Yeah, essentially. So they've got some more space around them. So I suppose it's a less hectic version of that first hero print that we looked at. And I think this would work so well in like a nursery or something where you wanted a little more of a gentle aesthetic in the space.
And so that squirrel with the lantern, that's the first one you created, right? Is that the first?
So he's derived from that first, we'll call him the audition squirrel.
The audition squirrel, yeah.
In the first illustration of him, he's actually holding a rope and hoisting up the cushions, but for this one I changed him to holding a little lantern.
Great. And then again, it's, 6 colorways. Moving on to...
This one is so much fun. Slip. I love the wiggle lines in this. This was another Milton & King in-house artwork, and I think it's so cool. That wiggle is awesome. Like, what a vibe to have in the interior.
For those listening, it's essentially the characters from the Magical Faraway Tree put into like a wiggly stripe design. So it still has all those great characters from the story, but it's the colors of the stripe are, carry through those same sort of the colors of essentially the collection, so that you can kind of expand on if you wanted to like pair it within the same space or in different spaces, but kind of run a similar theme.
Yeah, like that pink with the burgundy with that wiggle stripe is just so cool. I love it. It's such a great print. When they sent their designs through, I was like, it's a hard yes from me on all of them. They're amazing.
That's great. And then we have Enchanted Keepsakes. This is one of yours, right?
Yeah, so these are lots of the illustrative assets presented in I suppose, a traditional polka dot style composition, but they're all framed in a foliage wreath, each asset. So it's got a real kind of peephole sort of storybook feel about it. It's really pretty. I love it, especially on the pink background, and also that darker base that has the creamier inset behind the wreaths is really lovely.
Yeah, that's nice. That's the night colorway. Yeah. And then we have, I really like this one, Storybook Meadow.
Very sophisticated. I was trying to think what, if I had like a room overlooking a meadow in a country house in England, what kind of print would I want on the walls? And this is kind of the layout that was inspired by that concept of a room. Just something really beautiful and relaxing to look at.
Yeah, it's almost like you have these open books and these scrolls, almost like it's laying in a field or something like that.
Yeah, and the flowers create this sort of diamond pattern through it, which is really lovely. And I'm an avid reader.
I didn't notice that before.
Yeah, you see it now.
And it's funny. One of the things I wanted to ask you, we'll just get to the last design here. I think it's the last one. This is the topsy-turvy design, which again is just a derivative of the color scheme that runs throughout the collection, but it's just the kind of squiggly vertical stripe without
Yeah.
any of the characters, really just the solid colors, which I think is really good companion to really any of the other designs that are in the collection.
Yeah, it's a great complementary print for, pairing back, as I mentioned, if you're going to put a secondary print somewhere in the space is really nice, or on its own, it's a really cool print too.
So it's funny. I had this question that I did want to ask you, and it sort of went out of my mind until you mentioned the diamond shape in this, the diamond pattern in this. And I know that you are famous for putting hidden Easter eggs in your designs, little things that are maybe just a personal touch. And I don't know if you're happy to or not. You tell me no if you don't want to reveal. But is there anything in any of these that I like, even one little clue or a tip or anything that you could reveal?
Well, my magic key is hidden amongst these artworks. So I just happen to
Magic
have
key.
one here. Yeah, my magic key, that's my logo. Okay, I have an
Okay.
actual one here with me. That is hidden amongst some of these artworks. So that's my Fleur Harris brand logo, and I include it in lots of my artworks, and it lives amongst these artworks here too.
So
Or
it's
some
like
of them
somewhere
at
in
least.
here.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the details that I love, we kind of spoke about it before, but I just love that the little pixie sitting on the mushroom in this print is my little boy. Like, having little details like that are so special to me. But also there's layers inside the characters, so it'll be hard for people to see on the screen, but the prints on the textiles that the characters are wearing are Fleur Harris original prints. So the prints from my previous collection. So the print, it's a small flower kind of polka dot style print on Dame Washalot's dress. That has been in my bedding collections before, that print. And then the print that the little pixie that my son modeled for, that's on his pants, was one of my most popular ditzy floral prints. So I've incorporated a lot of original Fleur Harris artwork into the characters' outfits as well. Something that I really love about Moonface, so he has in his pocket a little red kerchief that's a little like red with white polka dots handkerchief in his pocket, and that's a little nod to my dad, who passed away about 16 years ago. He had this red bow tie with little white polka dots on it that I still have, and so that was kind of a little way for me to sneak a little nod to him in here.
How special is that? That's so nice.
Yeah, and you can see there the picture of the cake. So that is, if I bring my fake cake back here, you can see what a great job Lauren did. I'll even hold it on the same angle of recreating that as a fake cake.
Wow. She did a great job.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I wasn't sure if you're going to be like, nope, can't reveal my secrets, or...
Oh, yeah, of course. Share the magic.
No, what's really cool to see. I love it. I love to see, what sort of little things that, artists do to give it a little bit, something extra special. I mean, it's special on its own, but there's always just the little personal touches, I think, that really make it, bring it up a level. And just more fun to look at and kind of just, stare at and that kind of thing.
Totally. I think storytelling has always been really important, and if you can include that in your creative output, I think it allows an opportunity to connect a bit deeper with people. So I always love to do that. Especially when it's something like these wallpapers that are going to go into people's homes, like they're people's special spaces. And out of all the wallpapers in the world, if they're going to choose that one to have in their home, I want to be able to offer them something that, they can really connect with. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing all this stuff with us today.
It's my pleasure.
So this will be out on February 26th. That's when the wallpaper is live on the Milton & King site. So you'll be able to go and get samples and check it all out, and order rolls if you think it's the right fit for your space. And then again, you're going to be going through these too on your social media and seeing them up close. So will this be the first time you actually see them in person?
Yeah, so I believe
Ah,
they're on their way, and I will film my first look at them in person, and share that with everyone, because it's such a different experience seeing them in real life. I mean, they look amazing on
yeah.
screen, but to see them in real life, and the quality of the Milton and King wallpaper is so beautiful. So to feel that and have that experience of unrolling the roll, I just love. So I'll be sure to film that and share that.
Excellent. So since the last time you were on the podcast, we started asking one question at the end of every podcast to everyone that comes on.
Oh,
So I didn't get to ask you the last time, so I'll ask you this time. It's nothing scary. It's just
okay.
you answer it however you see fit. But it's just a general question, because we're talking to such a creative and artist-driven community and people that are interested in design and things like that.
Sure.
And so the question is, what is it that you do to stay creative?
I take creative breaks. So I will very happily do pens down and not make anything for however long I need to. I went through a period quite a while ago where I did 2 years where I didn't paint. I just did other things. I turned myself to sewing or something else. And then one day I just had this like tsunami of I need to paint feelings just come over me, and I just went mad painting for a little while, covered my apartment in canvases. So I find, particularly with my work now, the demand for me to keep creating is very constant, to be able to keep up with the amount of work that I need to produce to service, all my different partners and provide newness to people. And that can sometimes become a bit creatively exhausting. And so it's at times like that I just take a break. I go away, or I go and do something completely different, go out hiking or whatever, and just don't do anything creative. And then I find that's a good way to recharge and reset me for coming back and having a fresh approach to it. And I think that's what keeps me able to then keep going with it.
That's a great answer. I didn't expect that. That's a good one.
To not create is my secret to creating.
Right. Because I guess it helps prevent like burnout, right? Because it could just get exhausting, and
and there's,
I guess sometimes the well just needs to refill or something.
Yeah, for me, there's nothing worse than having to create something and not being in the mood to do it, or not having any ideas or something, but having to put something together. That is a really actually awful experience. And so I try to avoid that. I go to this place up the road called Beyond Rest, where I get in their infrared sauna and I crank it up to about 65 degrees and I just roast myself. And then I get in their float tank, which is like one of those sensory deprivation tanks where it's no light, no sound. You go in there in the nude, and it's this like water temperature that's the same as your body temperature. So you basically feel, hear, see nothing, and you just float there. And I do that quite a bit too.
How often do you do that?
Well, I probably do it about once a month-ish now. And I find that that's a really good mini version of that creative break, is just to go and do this completely unrelated, sort of physically challenging, mentally challenging as well, because sitting in a 65-degree space for, I don't know what that is. Yeah, Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Is it?
I don't know, but I'm guessing probably like 130 degrees or something,
It's
120
awful.
degrees, like sitting in an oven or something.
Yeah. But I find, that after that experience, I come out and I've actually got a lot of new ideas, and, kind of clearing your brain out makes space for new ideas and new inspiration.
How cool. That's cool. I've never tried it, but you're making me want to, so maybe I'll have to give it a shot.
Get around it. Go and roast yourself.
Well, thanks so much, Fleur. I appreciate you once again joining me today and giving us insight into this new collection. We're really excited about it. So, thanks again.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It was lovely to speak with you again.